What is up and welcome back. There's so many times that we have done like a pros and cons video about living in Denver, Colorado, right? And the thing about it is, I feel like it's so one-sided where sometimes we've heard that, you know, I noticed you called that a pro, but actually that's a con for me. And vice versa, where people are like, hey, you called that a con and that's actually a pro for me.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I get the point.
Recently, I tried going about this in a different way, just pretty much talking about things that you may or may not like about living in Denver, Colorado. I wrote out 8 of them here, so bear with me. I got my notepad here, that way I can remind myself what the topics are. The first one is going to be the most obvious one that we talk about all the time, and we're going to be talking about that snow. Now, I will say that many people that we work with, they moved to Colorado because they want to see that beautiful snow. We just had some people we talked to from Missouri, like, you guys actually get snow. I'm not sure if you've ever been in Missouri, but we get like freezing rain, okay? And it's just like always ice. We really don't get this thick, like puffy snow like you guys do. And so I guess we really didn't realize, because since we, you know, lived in Colorado our entire lives, it's what we grew up with. But the snow is amazing. You can play on it, whether it's building a snowman, throwing the snowballs, sledding, and all this great thing. We do have some excellent snow in Colorado. The things to not like about snow is, I mean, pretty much the maintenance of keeping up with the snow, right? So if you own a property, you're going to be able to shovel your driveway. You're going to be able to shoveling that sidewalk. A lot of these cities, they will have restrictions where you do have to remove that snow within a certain amount of time. And then of course there's our windshields as well too. And the thing about it is, when you have snow, when you're throwing down a bunch of snow removal on the roads, you know, you got the sand, the gravel, when all that snow is gone, it's going to get thrown up, and sometimes it cracks your windshield. You get those rocks and it's always painful. You hate it. And then many times we have people who, if they don't have like an all-wheel drive or a four-wheel drive car, they'll get snow tires put on during the winter season. You know, that way they can make sure that they're not slipping and sliding through the snow. And I'm actually going to add another thing on this. If you do not have an all-wheel drive or a four-wheel drive car, I would highly recommend it. I'd say if we were to rate like the best cars to drive in snow or on this slick ice, rear-wheel drive would be the worst. Then it'd probably go, you know, front-wheel drive, and then I'd say four-wheel drive, and then all-wheel drive. Why I think that all-wheel drive is the best is because you always have that on. You don't have to shift it into four-wheel drive in order to have that four-wheel drive. The second thing that you might not like about Denver, Colorado is how far the airport is. Again, this could be something that's great where you don't have to worry about that airport traffic being right in the heart of Denver. It is quite a ways away, quite a ways east, so it's closer to Aurora than it is actually into Denver. So it's like, this is great. I don't have to worry about that. But of course, there is something that you might not like about that, and how far the airport is. If you were living in the heart of Denver and you're like, I need to get to the airport, the travel time in order to get there is going to take a little bit longer, and that might be something that you do not like. The good thing about Denver is we do have light rail stations that will go directly to DIA out there.
Speaking of light rail,
here it comes. And then also, if you're living like on the outskirts of the Denver metro area, and I'm talking mean like the furthest outskirts of Denver, you have access to E470, which is our tollway, and that will take you directly over the airport. That way you do not have to deal with traffic. Now that we talked about that, that comes into our third thing, E470. Now E470, it's a love-hate thing, because some people are like, you know what, the amount of money that I have to pay taking this toll to avoid traffic is more than worth it. I'd be more than willing to pay for this. Where we actually heard that like there's a lot of tolls down in Texas. Those tolls are way more expensive as compared to E470 that we do have in Colorado. Now I'm trying to think of it, because it's went up dramatically in the last, I'd say probably 10 years. I remember when I first took it back in the day, it was, I think it was like 75 cents every time you pass a station, and where I was going, I'd pass like 3 stations. Now we go, I think we passed probably about like 4 or 5 stations to go from our house over into DIA, and it gets about 8 to 10 bucks right around there to get over there. And that's I'd say it's a good like half portion of E470. You have the full southern half as well too. Another note on this is on the other side you have C470, and that is the free part of the continuation of E470 going around through kind of those foothill cities. So I guess just recapping that, something you might like about it is fast to get around when we're talking about commuting, you know, around the Denver metro area. The bad thing about it is expensive, but apparently it's not as expensive as a lot of these other tolls that so many people take in larger cities. The fourth thing that you may or may not like about living in Denver are those mountain activities. This was something that Colorado was always really known for back in the day. You know, everyone, they're gonna go skiing, they're gonna go hiking, they're gonna do all those water rafting, great things up in the mountains. And it is amazing. If you wanna get outdoors, say you live in the heart of Denver, you're like, I wanna get away from the city life, get up in the mountains, experience some nature, see some cool things. Of course, that is great. But something that you might not like about those mountain activities is how crazy busy it is anymore. When I was growing up as a kid, it was nowhere near. If you wanted to go for a hike, you'd maybe see like a half a dozen other groups as you're going through like a 2-hour hike, where now there's people all over. If you plan on going skiing or snowboarding, there is a ton of traffic, and there was always traffic when I was growing up, but now it is insane how much traffic there is going up into the ski slopes. The hiking trails is like sometimes you have to wait or you have to book a time in order to go hiking there because their parking lots are so full. So just know that with the popularity that Denver experienced over the past 10 years, is we had a lot of people move into here who are now experiencing our mountains, and they do seem like they are a little congested. One way that you might be able to get away from this is if you go a little bit more northern Colorado, up in like Fort Collins area, their mountains aren't as congested as the Rocky Mountains that are right outside of Denver. The fifth thing that you may or may not like about living in Denver, Colorado is that dry climate. And before I break into both sides of that, guys, if you are looking at purchasing real estate in Colorado, make sure you give us a call or text at that phone number right below right there. And if you're not quite ready to purchase, but you feel like, you know what, this video is providing me some great value, I'd like to watch more videos in the future, why don't you smash that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, notification bell, that way you're notified every single time that we put out a brand new video. All right, let's talk about the dry climate. So here's one thing, is the dry climate, you don't have to worry about too much humidity, right? And so it's like, it's not super muggy. I'm told by my wife that, being in a dry climate, she doesn't have to worry about, like her hair just like poof, like going out. Like when we go down to Mexico and stuff, we really, for the most part, don't have to worry about black mold. If you have a black mold situation in Colorado, it's because of a plumbing leak. It's not because of the fact that you didn't turn, your fan on in your bathroom after you take a shower or anything like that. It's more that there's a good chance that you have either a roof leak, or behind the wall you have some type of a plumbing fixture that is leaking. There is one other off end that kind of happened where, there's a new build that happened, and we had some clients where the dryer vent, it unhooked in the wall, and so it's blowing all that moist air into the back of the wall, and they had some mold. But outside of that, you don't have to worry about it as you would as someone that has a ton of humidity. Now, the bad thing about being in a dry climate, we used to always, actually we gave a few clients a couple buying gifts with a few of these products in them, but gotta have your chapstick, you gotta have your lotions, because you are always super dry, especially like right after getting out of a shower or something like that.
Can you bring me my chapstick?
No, Napoleon.
But my lips hurt real bad.
The summertime, you don't get as dry because our humidity does raise a little bit in the summertime. The wintertime is what you really have to worry about. I remember when I was a kid, guys, my hands would just like crack and peel because they were so dry. I was a rough and tough boy where I was like, I'm not gonna put no lotion on or nothing like that. Big mistake. Guys, lotion, chapstick. Also, something that we have here is we have whole house humidifiers, and a lot of people do put those in to try and keep their houses from being so dry inside. So swamp coolers is also a big thing here. It's like my dad swore that he would never do a central air system, that he will always have swamp coolers because it does help with that dryness inside of his house. And the other thing about this dry air here, guys, or this dry climate, is we have a lot of static. I guarantee it seems like no matter what you do, you're reaching out to, touch a doorknob or something like that, especially if you've been walking on carpet, there is a lot more static here as opposed to somewhere that's a lot more humid. The sixth thing that you may or may not like is traffic. This is always a discussion that we have with you guys because we help people who come from all sorts of areas. So we help people who come from small town, and we have people who come from big town. And so if I tell someone who comes from Philadelphia that we have traffic here, they're like, yeah, you don't know what traffic is, and all that. I don't know if I tried to do an accent there, if I don't know. Ignore that. So that, yeah, like I said, they tell us that we don't know what traffic is, but then if we get someone who comes from like Nebraska or Kansas, like, holy crap, there is so much traffic here. So that is all based off of where you're coming from. You might come here and think that Colorado's traffic is amazing compared to, LA. But then if you're coming from a small town, just know that our traffic is going to be something that you may not like. The seventh thing that you may or may not like about Denver, Colorado is the cost of living. And the reason that you may or may not like this, I'm not saying that everyone loves stuff that's expensive, right? What I'm saying is that we have some positives in regards to the cost of living and we have some negatives in regards to cost of living. So first, let's talk about those positives. Something that you might like is I haven't found this yet because a lot of times we are comparing Colorado or Denver, Colorado to a lot of these other cities that are surrounding. And I haven't seen these numbers yet. So our health on a national average, we're talking about your national cost of living index, is an 83.9 out of 100. So 100 is your national average. Our health seems to be much lower here as opposed to a few of these other cities that we have compared to. Another one that's pretty good is your utilities. Utilities is at a 96.2, which is below that national average. So if we're talking about healthcare and utilities, you know, we're doing pretty damn good here in Colorado. The things that you may not like that is driving so many local Coloradans out of Colorado is our housing. Cost of living index on housing is a 183.1 in Denver, Colorado. So that's 83% higher than your national average. The other one is going to be your miscellaneous. In Denver, it is a 152.1. So what is your miscellaneous? Pretty much the cost of your restaurants, your boutiques, your shopping and all that stuff. That is what's going to cover your miscellaneous. So like I said, we have some great things in regards to cost of living and then we have some bad things in regards to cost of living. The eighth and final one that you may or may not like in regards to Denver, Colorado is our food scene. And we've taken this from a lot of you guys because we feel like Denver's come quite a ways these last probably like 5-10 years in regards to the food scene. But we've talked to people who came from like New Orleans, who came from LA, that were still lacking in regards to that variety of a food scene here in Denver, Colorado. And like I said, I mean, since I grew up here, I think it's fantastic. I was like, man, holy crap, we have so many choices now. The food season's blowing up like crazy in Denver. But like I said, if you came from somewhere that has a much more robust food scene than Denver, Colorado, then you may not like it as much as where you came from. All right, thank you so much for watching, guys. I greatly appreciate it. If you are looking at moving into Colorado, purchasing up some real estate, give us a call or text at that phone number right below. Right there, we have assembled the best team of realtors to help you out with all your real estate needs. And if you're not quite ready to purchase, but you know what? You value this information and you want to continue to see some more information, why don't you do us a huge favor by smashing that subscribe button, thumbs up, notification bell, that we notified every single time we put out a brand new video. Until next time, we love you. Bye.